We were walking through the corridors with my dad, and my dad pulled out my x-ray and was looking at it through the daylight like this.
Okay.
And I saw his face drop. So the last time I physically ate a meal, sat at a table, physically ate a meal and digested it, was January 2024. And I got to a point then where I kind of just thought, you know what? I'm sick of asking for help. I'm sick of being told it's in my head. I'm sick of not being believed. And I kind of suffered in silence. He said to me, so with gastroparesis, and he explained it can be treated, it can be managed, but in your case, this isn't curable.
I have something to read for you.
Oh.
Okay. So this is from your mum and dad. And I'm going to try not to get emotional. Jesus. Welcome, Steph.
Hi.
How are you feeling today?
A range of emotions. I was really, really nervous to think about even opening up about what life is and what I'm currently living with. But now I'm here. I seem to have settled a little bit. Still a little bit trembly, but yeah, I think we'll get there.
Well, I've known you for a long time. Well, for as long as I can remember, since being a little girl.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think I've always had you somewhere there in the background.
In our lives. So I know you. I know your demeanour, and I obviously you were saying that when we spoke about coming onto the podcast, I finally got you here. I've got you to agree to share your story. I've pushed and pushed because your story is just it. I haven't got any words to explain what you've been through. We were even just chatting out there, weren't we? And you're telling me more stuff, and I'm like, what? But in terms of the nerves, I feel like you're doing okay. So that's good. I've advised you, if we mess up, we can go again. It's usually me that messes up, so don't worry about that. A bit of background then. How do we know each other?
How do we know each other? We're just really lucky. Our mums were best friends.
Yeah. Best of friends,
and
weren't they?
that's the best way I can describe it. We were just really lucky that they walked into school one day and decided, you're my mate.
Yeah. So it's been like school years that they have known each other.
Yeah.
And then we would like meet up, like, I don't know, a couple of times a year or whatever. And one vivid memory, I know you've got the vivid memory as well, but we were in the Red Lion in Crawley.
Yes.
And I had my new Linkin Park hoodie on, and I thought I've got a new hoodie. And then you turned up and you had the same hoodie on. I was like, oh my God, did we just become best friends again? And then life sort of came back. We came into each other's lives again when you became the manager of the care home my mummy was living in.
Yeah, and that was... I remember texting you the day I got offered the job and asking, are you okay if I do this? But it was just such a privilege to be able to be there with her every single day.
Yeah.
And I knew everything.
And you fought for her as well.
So the
best manager we've had.
The staff would come to me and they'd be like, she's doing this. And I'd be like, yeah, I know what that is. Come on then, off we go.
Yeah.
And I'd sit next to her, curl up next to her in bed, sing Ali Bali Bee. And yeah, it was just a privilege to have her in that moment and see her for what she was. It was just, that was my favourite job. Like, I loved my job. My career was everything. And as we'll talk about, unfortunately, it's not anymore. But yeah, that was one of my biggest, proudest moments, was being able to look after your mum.
Well, I'm so grateful to you for it, because I knew if I can't be there, if I'm not there, you're there. So it was like added family that was with her every day. So you then, let's talk about you. Give me a bit of an insight into who you are and what you're going through at the minute, Steph.
Okay, so I'm 35. I'm a mum to an amazing, funny, out of this world, old soul of a 6-year-old, George. I'm wife to Stuart, who did not sign up for this. And I've been battling chronic illness mostly for the last four years probably, but I've always had some form of illness throughout my life. It just kind of came to a head 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with gastroparesis. So that's basically paralysed stomach.
Right.
And then as a knock-on effect of that, I've then also been diagnosed with intestinal failure. So yeah, they are the two main characters in my life at the moment that are keeping me occupied, let's say.
Well, yeah. And then some.
Yeah.
So the chronic illness that you have, or illnesses that you have, you mentioned that you've always been a little bit poorly, you had some struggles. Why did it come to a head 4 years ago? What happened?
So when I was younger, I actually didn't find this out until recently when I was seeing my therapist, who is a part of the gastro team at the hospital. The first time my mum and dad took me to a doctor or took me to a hospital to see somebody, I was 2.5, just over 2.5. And they basically said, she's got really bloated stomach, it's distended continuously, she's in quite a lot of abdominal pain, she's really colicky, she's not settling very well, being like nauseated and stuff, we're just a little bit worried. And that was kind of like my life for the whole of my childhood, really. I had stomach ache. I was the girl with the stomach ache.
Right.
Went in and out of hospital. They said it was anxiety. You're a girl. You're young. It's anxiety. Then they said it could be an eating disorder.
Because you were like being sick?
Yeah, because I was being sick. I was struggling to eat. I'd eat like I'd come home from school at 4:00, eat then, and then that would be it until 4:00 the next day.
Right.
Loved my food though. Loved my food. So for them to say that to me, it was really difficult. And I never forget. I was probably 12. And it was at the old hospital. You know, the one that used to be in town.
Yeah.
And it was back in the day when they'd give you your X-ray and hand it over to you, and you'd carry it back to your doctor, and they'd put it on the light box.
Yeah.
And we were walking through the corridors with my dad, and my dad pulled out my X-ray and was looking at it through the daylight like this.
Okay.
And I saw his face drop. Now that's not like my dad.
No.
And his face dropped, and he shoved it back in the paper, and we went and we sat in the waiting room, and I was like, didn't really think of anything.
Yeah.
And basically what he had seen was a shadow over my bowels. When we got in, luckily enough, at that time, the doctor said to us, I think she's got lazy colon. Basically, she's just really constipated.
Okay.
I hadn't been to the bathroom for like 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, at this point.
Right.
And that's what they said it was. Lazy colon, loads of laxatives. If you get in distress, come and see us, and we'll have to obviously do something about it.
Right.
But again, we just went on for a few more years of it's in her head, it's anxiety. Then they took my appendix out thinking it was appendicitis.
How old were you then?
Probably 16 then when they took my appendix out. So yeah, and I got to a point then where I kind of just thought, you know what? I'm sick of asking for help. I'm sick of being told it's in my head. I'm sick of not being believed. And I kind of suffered in silence.
Right.
And just managed it on my own, managed it at home with any sort of, we looked at herbal remedies, we did all that like sort of research, and I just managed it at home, got on with it. A lot later on in life, so that I probably stopped asking for help when I was about 17.
And you were still in pain?
Yeah, still in pain, still struggling, all of these different things. And then 2022 came along. I'd had George by this point, married, life's doing great, career of my life, happy, wonderful, and then bam. Started bleeding from my rectum, and it was vile, and it was, stomach was really sore, hurting a lot, I was in agony, and went to the doctors and kind of said, little bit nervous about this because my nan had bowel cancer and there's a history of it. This is why I'm nervous. Went through the whole thing. Okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll screen you. We'll do all of that. They did that. Again, everything came back. Your labs are normal. You're okay. Your bloods are fine. We'll just keep an eye on it. Okay, right. So I just kind of went back into my shell of, okay, we'll just get on with it, it'll pass. And then a year later, it got to the point where it was becoming like unmanageable. It was like I'd gone from not going to the bathroom to going 40, 50 times a day.
40 to 50 times a day.
And when I say that, like not like a lot, but enough to warrant it being noted. So I went back to the doctors and explained my situation, had the conversation again, and they put me on the 2-week waiting list to be screened again for bowel cancer. So that all went through, got screened again, labs came back, and they said, oh, your calprotectin is high this time, and that's your inflammation in your bowel. Right. So that's inflammation that is showing that there's something going on somewhere. Right, okay. I'm going to send you for a colonoscopy. Oh my God, the dread inside of me. I was like, this is now getting a bit invasive. So we went for that, had that test. They said it came back fine. They said there was nothing wrong. It was okay. All right, okay. Carried on for a couple of more months. And I went back to the doctors and said, it's not getting any better. What can I do? Saw a consultant at the hospital. They kind of didn't really know what to do. But at this point, I was really starting to say, I need answers. When you're a mom and you've got a little person there, that your fight becomes a little bit different. Yeah. So I was like, no, I need answers. Like, I need to know what's going on. Like, I can't do normal things at the minute. And they sent me for another colonoscopy. And I remember asking at that point, who was going to do it? I said, is it going to be a senior member of staff? Because this is something that I'm continuously coming to you with. Mm-hmm. So luckily enough, I got the appointment come through, and it was a professor that was doing it. Went through all of the whole thing, and they found some polyps in my bowel, and they had found some ulcerations in there. Lots of bleeding, lots of scarring, evidence of ulcerative colitis. Okay, that's fine. So got a phone call, can we go on this medication? Yep, you need to go on immunotherapy medication. I'll introduce you to the IBD team. Yeah, that's great. And that was okay. We got rushed through, which made us think we're getting seen and something's getting done. That was probably towards the end of 2023. January 2024, and over Christmas, I really struggled. Right. My eating had started depleting anyway, but I was finding it really hard to eat. Soon as I would eat, I would feel really, really full. I'd feel really sick. I couldn't have anything with any flavouring on. All of those sorts of things that I used to love and enjoy, I just couldn't do them anymore. And we had tried gluten-free diets. We had tried the whole lot, trying to find our own answers. Yeah. And I went into hospital in the January, and this doctor came to me, and he went through everything, and he said, okay, yeah, we're going to discharge you home. We think it's just a bad flare-up of the IBD. If you're struggling again, come back to us, though. Okay.
Basically the same thing that you've been told again and again.
Yeah, and that's where I got to at that point. I just kind of kept feeling like as soon as the door got opened, it was just slammed shut in your face again. Right. And not having answers, you couldn't, work were asking, what's going on? When are you coming back to work? Yeah. And I couldn't give them answers because I couldn't tell them what was going on because I didn't know. So then that was the January. And then the February, we went back into hospital. And it was just at the end of January, we went to see James Arthur in concert at the Empire. Knew I shouldn't have gone. Knew I shouldn't have been there. I was in a massive flare. I was back and forth from the toilet throughout it, being sick. My stomach was in pieces. We'd just been and had some food that I just couldn't tolerate. Knew I shouldn't have been there, but I was going. Yeah. Next 2 days I was in hospital. And that was it. From the February until the end of the March, I was a resident at the hospital.
So it's like a month and a half you're in there. Yeah. And what did you go to hospital for? So what were they treating you for, or did they still not know at this point?
So at this point, they still didn't know. Right. I went in and basically said, I can't keep any food down. I just can't keep going on. I can't eat. I'm going to the toilet, so whatever I am putting in is coming out.
Straight out, yeah.
And I'm dehydrated. By this point, I had started to lose weight, and I'd probably lost about 5% of my body weight at that time. Looking back on the situation, I had the weight to lose, so I was grateful for that. But yeah, so I went into hospital, and I'll never forget it. I'd had doctors come to the bed, and they were like, they didn't know what to do, and they were umming and ahhing, and some were saying this, some were saying that, and I got this one doctor, and he came to the ward, and I just felt at ease with him straight away. Like, he was honest, he opened with me, he sat on the end of my bed, on the ward round, just like, really
made
like,
an effort.
Yeah, and I was just like, he asked me, he said, I've read your notes, but I want to know exactly what's happening from you, because this looks really complex. And I was like, okay. And I remember after the ward round, because obviously they happen in the morning, so you've got no visitors or anybody with you. So I remember that happening, and he went away, and he had kind of said to me, right, I'm going to go away and I'm going to look at doing some tests, and I'm going to go back and look at all your notes and stuff. And I said, okay, that's great, thank you. He said, and I'll be back to see you probably tomorrow or the day after. I said, yeah. And I remember going and phoning Stuart and my mum and dad, and I said, I've just met this doctor, and he is the first doctor that I feel listened to. I feel like he's seen me. And I remember my dad saying to me, okay, so how do we get hold of him again? And I went, I don't know. And he went, is he still there? And I went, yeah. He said, go and ask him if we can have a meeting. So I put the phone down, and luckily enough, he was still outside. And I just said to him, I know you're really busy. I know your schedule's hectic. Any chance you'd be able to come back and sit down and talk with me and my family? And he went, yeah, of course.
Wow.
He went, when? Today? 3:00? And I'm smiling now because the relief, I was overwhelmed with the fact that he was like, yeah, of course, that's not an issue. Don't worry.
Wow.
And fair play to him. He came back to the bedside at 3:00 that day, sat down with my mum, my dad, me, Stuart, and he basically said, I don't think you have got IBD. He said, yes, there is evidence that your bowel was inflamed and it was ulcerated, but I don't think you have got IBD at this moment in time. You might be in remission of it. Right, okay. So what do you think it is? And he said, I think you might have gastroparesis. So I'm sat there and I'm like, what is this?
That? Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. And he explained, he said, it's basically when your stomach's paralysed to a point where if you eat, it will just basically stay there. It won't move down the chain of command. It won't move through, and it's not absorbing, it's not digesting, it's slow gut dysmotility. He went, I've gone through all of your notes. He said, I've looked back at everything. He said, in 2023, you had a case of Campylobacteria, which is a posh word for a very, very, very strong case of food poisoning. And he basically said, I think your stomach was paralysed prior to this, but I think that bacteria being not treated and being missed and being misdiagnosed as ulcerative colitis has actually made this situation worse for you.
My God.
And I remember my dad going, okay, so how do you become her consultant?
Forever.
That's it.
Yeah.
How do we sign up to you? Because everybody else that she's seen doesn't believe her. It's causing Steph a lot of anxiety now, and she's starting to get really struggling with who believes her and stuff. How do we get you to be her consultant? And he went, not an issue. I'll see it. He said, I'll discharge her and we'll work on it as an outpatient. If you want me to be your consultant. Yes. Sign me up. That's it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I thought at that point, I've got the man for the job. So he put into place me having a gastric emptying study test. So you can't eat, you struggle to eat food, and as soon as you eat, you feel sick. What's the best thing we can do with you for a test? We'll give you radioactive eggs on toast. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Radioactive eggs on toast. Right. With a bit of jam if you want jam on the side.
Right, tell me about it. I don't understand. You got to give me this.
Basically, this test is gold standard test for testing for gastroparesis.
Right.
And basically what they do is you go into, it's the nuclear medicine unit at the hospital. You go in and they have basically made you scrambled eggs on toast. But this scrambled eggs is green because they've put radioactive liquid into it and different bits and pieces and markers and things, so that basically when you digest it and it goes into your stomach and then you stand in this scanner, it basically highlights what's happening in your stomach, and it basically tracks it moving through the stomach. And I was already anxious about this because I was like, I can't eat. I'm struggling to eat. Yeah. As soon as it goes in, it's coming back up. The test isn't a quick test. You're there for a good 4 to 6 hours. And I remember having the test and being sick immediately. I didn't really know at this point what I should be and shouldn't be saying to people. So I was sick in the room with the nurse, gone outside, waited. You have to wait an hour to start, and then they scan you for the first hour. And I'd been sick again, mentioned it, been sick again, gone in. We had the scan. So you have a scan on the first hour, the second hour, the third hour, and then on the fourth hour. So we had been scanned. They didn't tell you anything on the day. Go home, your consultant will call you in. So the consultant called me in at this point, and had booked me a new appointment. And I went to see him, and he said, you haven't got gastroparesis. Your test has come back. You're fine. Sorry, what? And I was just like, no, I can't do this again. And I said, but I was sick. I said, oh,
how can you even track the radioactive stuff?
I said, it would all come out of me. Like, within minutes, it had come out of me. Yeah. And I said, like, did they write that? And he went, no, that's not on the report, Steph.
Oh, my God.
So I was like, right, okay. And he said, do you know what? He said, let's do the test again. Yes. And I said, okay. I said, yeah, let's do the test again.
Because you believed in him.
Yeah, I believed in him, and I knew that there was something wrong, and I needed somebody to say yes. And I'm not one of them sorts of people to quit.
No.
So for me, I'd gone through a long period of time of them saying, no, you're not getting anything, we're not helping, back out the door. Yeah, if you're offering it me now, I'm going to take it. So I did the test again, and in between that test coming through, he booked me in for a barium swallow test, which is a similar sort of test, but you have to drink a chalky drink.
Right.
So basically it's like a milky chalk that you have to drink. And again, they track it, it glows up inside you, they tilt you up and down on a table, throw you around, and again, you're there for probably 4 hours.
Is this all at UHCW?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Which I'm very lucky to have, that I live in this postcode. Yeah. Very lucky.
The amount of times that you've been there.
Yeah. So they did this test, and the poor nurse's face that day, and me and my mum giggle about it now, because we went for this test and we thought we were only going to be there 2 hours. 6 hours we were there for, because the stuff would just not budge.
Right.
And I did my best that day. I'm not going to be sick because of what happened on that other test.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times I was sick, but I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I remember this every single time, on the hour, every hour, I went into the room and the woman was scanning me, and she just kept looking at me over at the table and just smiling at me and shaking her head. And it got to lunchtime with this test, and the nurse said to me, she went, I've never seen this before. She said, are you okay to go away for lunch, and then I'll get a consultant to come back and review this at 1:00? Yeah, no, that's fine. So obviously we went off. Mum's having a lunch. I had a coffee. We went back, sat down, and this consultant called me in.
Is it the same guy?
No, different guy. They just called him in. He was able to read the scans and he was available. And he just looked at me and he went, I've never seen anything like this. And at this point, I'd brought my mum into the scanner room with me, because very quickly with chronic illness, you start, once you've been told no so many times, you start to learn to gather evidence.
Okay.
So even like going back to when I was going in and out of hospital, the amount of photos I'd go, well, it has happened because look, it's here. And there's a time and a date, and it's screenshotted.
Good for you.
And I would, if somebody looks at my camera roll nowadays, they would be like, what is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you learn very quickly to evidence what's happening. because you feel you have to, which you shouldn't. You shouldn't have to feel that way, but unfortunately you do. So I said, can I get my mum? Can she come in? And she came in and we stood there and this consultant said, I don't know what's going on. It is not moving. He said, you've still got about 3/4 of that drink inside you. Okay. He said, but I've got surgery this afternoon. I can't keep scanning you. So if you're happy to go home and just let it pass naturally. And I said, yeah, that's fine. Not an issue. Will this all be passed on to my consultant? Yeah. So we did that. That was perfect. Then this gastro-emptying study, the egg situation, came back in. We did that again. And I remember this time I was sick and I got the sick bowl and I measured it.
Right.
I measured how much I was sick. And I said to the nurse, I said, have you written that down? And she must have thought, who do you think you are? And I was like, no, honestly, I need you to note this down, that I've been sick that much. And she was like, okay, yeah, I'll make sure.
But your trust was depleting in everybody because no one was helping or knew how to help at this point.
No, and at this point, you start finding I had to start finding a voice that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of them people to start getting all, yo, listen to me, this is how we're doing this. Mm-hmm. I'm one of them people that'll go, okay, yeah, that's fine, we'll go along with it. I'm trusting you, you're the professional. So she wrote it all down, bless her. And then we got called in the November. Me and my dad went into the appointment to see the consultant. And you just don't forget some things. Mm-hmm. So I remember the time of the appointment, I remember the day of the appointment. And we sat there and he looked at his computer and he looked back at me and he went, it's gastroparesis, Steph. I just burst into tears. Mm. My nose decided it wanted to bleed, went everywhere.
There and then?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I sat there crying. And at this point, I had started doing my own research into gastroparesis. So
you knew more about what
I knew what it was and I knew what was going on. And basically, gastroparesis affects 14 people in every 100,000 in the UK at the moment. And it can be treated. So some people get gastroparesis after an infection, or they'll get gastroparesis after a surgery, or they can get it through diabetes.
Right.
Some people get idiopathic gastroparesis, which is what I've got. And it can be a knock-on from another illness that you've had or you've got, or it can just be something that just happens. So I started doing my own research and started looking at people. I found people on social media, started understanding what the situation was. He said to me, so with gastroparesis, and he explained it can be treated, it can be managed, but in your case, this isn't curable. And I said, okay, that's fine, but it's treatable and we can manage it, can't we? Yeah. Okay, let's get that ball rolling then, let's get on with that. So that's what we did. He said to me at that point, he said, this is kind of the end of the road for me and you though. And I said, okay. And he said, I'm an IBD doctor. You're now needing gastro doctors that are going to be with dietitians and nutritionists and stuff like that. So we're going to have to look at going a little bit further, but I'm going to put you in the hands of one of my colleagues. I said, yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you. And if it hadn't have been for him, I would probably still be asking questions and people would still be saying, what's going on? So yeah, for that was it. That was the start of everything. By the time I had been diagnosed with a gastroparesis, they had put a nose tube in. So I had a nasojejunal feeding tube put in place. So that's a tube that basically goes through your nose, down your throat, into your esophagus, down through your stomach and bypasses the stomach because mine's doesn't work, and bypasses it and then sits in the small intestine. So by this point, I'd started having some feed put in because I wasn't eating.
Right.
I couldn't tolerate food.
So was that getting worse, the tolerance for food, or was it knowing that you had gastroparesis? It was like, no, this is just a bad idea for me to eat.
So the feeding stopped as I went into hospital in the February,
Okay.
the feeding kind of came to an end at that point. And they had me on Fortisips and things in the hospital, which are like protein shakes and stuff.
Are they the high calorie ones?
Yeah. Yeah, so they kind of put me on them, and that kind of saw me through to that like June, July time. And then that doctor said, no, nose tube time. So yeah, I'd had that nose tube. I'd seen the doctor. We had gastroparesis in play. We knew what we were doing. I was on different medications. I was trying anything they'd throw at me, I was down for it.
Yeah.
We had done some research into a surgery that some people can have for gastroparesis that can treat it, called a G-POEM. So they like do something within the stomach, and we went to see a doctor in Stafford for that.
Wow.
And fair play to him. We drove all the way to Stafford, and he kind of said, "I'm really sorry, it's a wasted trip. Your gastroparesis is too severe for me. I'm not operating on you because you can't tolerate enough feed for me to even look at doing it. So
Right.
it's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen." So back to the drawing board. So we came back to Coventry, started seeing my new consultant. And I started seeing her in the February of 25. And at that point, they were trying to get me to feed as much as possible, but I was
Through the tube still?
Through the tube, yeah. So I was running probably 10 mils an hour. So that's like that much fluid. Within an hour, that's about as much as I could tolerate at that point. So
And just on that, Steph, sorry to interrupt, but if it was any more than that, what would happen? You would be sick?
I was in agony.
Right, okay.
I would double up. I'd be cramping. I would be sick. Like my stomach would, it felt like it was burning inside.
Because it didn't know what to do, essentially.
It just felt like it was burning.
Right.
And this tube, it wasn't in my stomach, it was in my intestine. So it bypassed the stomach, and it should have been going into the intestine, and the intestine should have been absorbing everything. But at this point, my body was like rejecting everything.
Right.
And the amount of nose tubes I went through, because they just kept flipping and popping out, was ridiculous. I was phoning the team up every other week. It's gone again. Can you get me in for fitting a new one? And it's endoscopy. So you go in and they put the camera down your throat.
Jesus Christ.
And they feed the tube up and down and then put it. So it's a lot to go through every single time. So yeah, it was just, we got to that point where it was just like, this is it now. And I was trying to be connected to my pump for as long as possible, but I just couldn't do it. And so obviously seeing her in the February, she started to get to know me, get to know my case, get to know what was going on. And then in the probably the start of June time, I went to see her, and she came up with this idea that she had gone back, looked at my notes, and obviously I'd had a lot of problems with my bowel when I was younger, and being constipated, and it just being really, really bad for me. She came up with this idea of, if we can filter that out some way. So basically the way she described it to us was like a motorway. It backs up
right
in a traffic jam because you've got a blockage. If we can get that blockage moving a little bit faster, you'll start being able to put things down properly, and we'll be able to pass through. So she came up with the idea of having stoma surgery at this point.
And just on this as well, this is an idea so that you can eat food again.
Yeah.
That's the aim.
At this point, we were still aiming for the fact that I was going to eat food again. And
right.
I was still in that mindset. I was still in the mindset of, okay, well, if you do this now, I'll be having Christmas dinner in December.
Yeah, okay.
Like, that was how it was. And I went into that appointment with my dad, and she knew what she was going to say to me that day. She'd already done the research. I felt safe in her hands, and she kind of said, we sat down and she went, right, I'm going to send you for an x-ray. I want to look at your bowel today, but I think we're going to look at surgery. And me and my dad kind of went, yeah, okay. Went off, came back, and she sat down. She went, yeah, we're going to do a planned admission. We're going to get you in. We're going to do what they call a slow transit colon test. Basically, again, they put markers into you for 3 days in a row. So 12 o'clock on the first day, 12 o'clock on the second day, 12 o'clock on the third day. You take 2 markers. And I went, can they go through my tube? And she went, no, you're going to have to swallow them. Okay.
Right.
So at this point, we started talking about the situation. I got admitted into the hospital, and they had come up with the fact that if I could aspirate my stomach, so basically pull enough stuff out of my stomach so my stomach was completely emptied, then take these capsules and then flush it, that would hopefully create enough pressure to push the capsule into my bowel.
Because your stomach was broken, so nothing was going from your stomach into your bowel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, yeah, okay, let's do it. And saw another consultant on the ward in the hospital, and we did it together. He came back, bless him, at the lunchtime, and he did it with me. And yeah, we did it for the 3 days. I think I started them on the Tuesday, finished them on the Thursday. Didn't have ward round on the Friday, so wasn't going to be getting any answers on the Friday. And I had to have the scan on the Friday, so you have to then have an X-ray to see where these markers are, basically. So I've got the whole weekend stuck in hospital, like, what? I'm not going to see him again until Monday. And I remember saying to the ward nurses, and I know, like, by this point, I'm well known on that ward, like, we're all mates.
Yeah.
Like, the nurses know George, the nurses know Stuart, like, they know the situation. And I went out and I said, oh, is there any chance that when the doctors come on Monday, I can have somebody with me for the results? So again, I'm thinking I need to evidence it, and I need somebody to hear it, because if I miss something, they might think of something. So yeah, no, that's fine, Steph, not a problem. What time will ward round be? 9 o'clock. Okay, perfect. So my dad had agreed he was going to come to the hospital. So Monday morning came, and I was nervous. I was scared. I was panicking.
For the answers?
Yeah, because for me, this test was it was a step closer to getting there. It was a step closer that they thought, so if this test comes back positive and then she has stoma surgery, this might all be alleviated.
Yeah.
And a part of me in the back of my head, I've always kind of known that I'd probably end up with a stoma because of the issues I had when I was younger. So yeah, I kind of was like really nervous. So Dad came, and the doctor came, and I sat in the bed, and he just looked at me and he went, "You could have told us the results, couldn't you?" And I went, "What?" And he turned the screen round, and there were 6 of these little dots, crosses and X's and O's they were on the screen. 6 of them, all gathered together in one part of my colon. I hadn't moved. And he went, "Yeah, you're having stoma surgery." He said, "I'm going to go and talk to the colorectal surgeons now. Somebody will be coming to see you. We'll get the ball rolling." Okay, thank you. Again, very emotional, starting to feel like we're getting here now. Like, these are showing them what I've been trying to say for so long. And yeah, that kind of happened. And then that was the Monday. The Tuesday, the surgeon came to see me. And again, totally felt at ease in his hands. Totally put me at ease completely. I'd already done all my research.
Yeah.
I knew everything he was going to say to me. So as soon as he sat down, he said, "Okay, you tell me what you think I'm here to talk to you about." And I explained everything to him. I said, "I know that this might not work." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm hesitant because I don't think I'm going to be able to fix you." Okay, but we've got to try. Yeah, we've got to try.
Wow.
And he said to me, "Okay, we'll look to aim for surgery maybe at the end of August, start of September." So I was thinking, great, I've got the summer holidays, like, we'll be able to do stuff, like, that's great. So now, because I'd seen the surgeon, they discharged me, went home, everything was great. Next week, I got a phone call. "The surgeon's found a slot for you." "All right, yeah, great." "Yeah, the 22nd of July.
Shit.
And I was in the car with my mum, and my mum said, "I've never heard somebody be so excited to hear that they're going to be opened up." Because I just went, "Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, yeah.
Put me in."
Yeah.
And yeah, that happened. So then July came and went. I got my stoma in place, my ileostomy.
So for those that don't know, stoma is where part of the stomach, you have a bag where it can empty into.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a part of my small intestines. So I haven't had it all removed. So some people with stomas will have everything removed. I haven't. I've had an ileostomy. And the reason why we had the ileostomy was because if it didn't work, we could reverse it. And then I could have it closed back up and go back to whatever it was. So yeah, had my ileostomy put in place. George named it Stanley. And yeah, we just kind of got on with it. That was the July. Went and saw the consultant in the September. And we said, things aren't getting any better.
Right.
It's not done what we wanted to do. And she said, yeah. I'd had a couple of admissions in between seeing her and having the surgery. And she said, yeah, it's not doing what we wanted it to do. And she said, we've looked back at your situation, we've looked back at everything, and we're now going to say that you're in intestinal failure.
Alongside your already gastroparesis, chronic illness.
Yeah.
Right.
She said, yeah, so now you've got chronic intestinal failure as well.
Is that due to...
Yeah.
Right.
So basically, intestinal failure is where your intestines don't absorb your nutrients, they don't absorb what you need. I'd had failed enteral feeding, so the feeding tube had failed. I couldn't feed through it. My body wouldn't accept it. Every time they put a tube in, it would flip it out. It just didn't want to do it. So she diagnosed me there then with the intestinal failure. And at that point, I was just kind of like, yeah, all right. Like, I'll take it on board, yeah, let's just... And then she said, Steph, we've got one more try. Sorry? And she said, we've got one more try. She said, and Stuart always says this to me, and she said, it's the last roll of the dice. Okay. She went, we're going to admit you, and we're going to start total parental nutrition feeding, TPN. Oh, okay, that's a little different. And I remember us kind of sitting there in a daze and going, yeah, okay, that's fine. And she said, we're going to get you in and we'll get a Hickman line fitted and we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll do this and we'll do that. Yeah, we'll get you admitted and you'll come in and we'll just get you started on the feed. And she said, it might just be to bridge the gap. She said, but I think this is it. Okay, so went into the hospital, got the phone call, went into the hospital, got admitted. And to start with, they put a PICC line in. Right. So this is, it's basically like a cannula that you have, but they basically put it into like your arm here, into like the bicep.
Yeah.
They put it in there and they feed the wire up and through your arm, into your chest, and then down into your heart. Well, just to the top of your heart. It's a central line, basically. And they put that in place, and they do it in a room. They just do it in your bedside table, like in the hospital. Luckily enough, I was in a room on the side, so I had my own room and stuff. But the vascular access team came and did it, and it was like a big purple triangle on my arm with like 2 wires coming off it. And they started feeding me there and then.
So they're feeding you through your arm, through your heart.
Yeah.
They're feeding you.
Yeah. So basically, this
how are they connected?
So they put this bag up, and for the first 2 weeks where we started TPN, they basically fed me fats because I think I'd lost 46% of my body weight at this point.
Right, so it went from 5 to 46.
Yeah,
right,
I'd lost a decent amount. So at this point, they were trying to get me back to a good level, like ground. So they were feeding me on fat bags, lipid bags, which were a milky bag. And basically what happens is they hook you up. So like when you're in hospital and you have like IV fluids or you have IV medication in the cannula, they basically hook you up the same way. However, there is a massive, massive risk with a central line. So the sepsis element comes into it. You have to be completely sterile. The amount of times nurses would come to me and they would have forgot something and they'd be like, oh, and they'd have to take all the gear off, pack everything away, go off, get whatever they needed. Then they'd come back, they'd have to rewash all of the stuff, rewash their hands, get a new sterile pack out and start again. It was a lot.
Why does it need to be sterile so specifically?
Because of the high risk that it gives you. So with the line, because it's central and it does go straight to your heart,
straight into your
bloodstream, sepsis, and then having like infections and things like that, you're just prone to them very quickly. So for the first 2 weeks, they fed me on this this TPN for the lipids and stuff. So basically they feed you through, and then all of your calories, your nutrients, your minerals, your vitamins, protein, carbohydrates, all of that then gets absorbed into your bloodstream. So by this point, we're now bypassing my stomach and my intestines. So that my body's just absorbing it through the bloodstream and then working its way through, breaking it all down. I didn't realise with TPN, it's a lot better now than it was previously, but I didn't realise the toll that it puts your body through.
Okay.
So I'd gone into hospital in the September. By the October, when I went to see the consultant and the team, my liver had started to go into failure. Because the amount of lipids that my body was having to work its way through. So we just changed my prescription and we moved things around. And yeah, that was it. That was kind of, the TPN situation was in place. They were ready to discharge. They put so the nose tube that I'd had previous, and I'd had another tube put in to vent my stomach. They had now come up with the idea that they were going to put a PEG J tube into my stomach. So
PEG J tube.
Yeah,
right.
Don't ask me to say the special words because I haven't got a clue. They're very big, but basically this, and I've got my PEG now still. They put a tube into your stomach, and basically this tube goes into your stomach, and it's a tube within a tube. So when it gets into your stomach, one of the tubes stops, and that then helps me vent any like acid or bile out of my stomach.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's a smaller tube within that tube that feeds through into my small intestines. But that's where I now put all of my medications. So like all of my meds that I take every day, I put into sterile water and crush them, put them in sterile water, and then flush them through my tube, and then they go into my intestines.
Why can't you put it through the line?
There are medications that I do put through my line,
right?
But not all medications are on IV at the minute.
Oh, right. Okay, so they could have gone through that pathway, but they're not in liquid form yet.
Yeah, they're just not there. And there has been questions now about the fact that I am putting the medication through that because my intestines aren't absorbing the meds, and I am still in a lot of the pain that I was before, still being sick, nauseated.
Because of the medication going in that way. Okay.
So that's something that we're just constantly looking at and trying to fix. So they put the TPN in place, had a nurse come and talk to me about life support treatment, because she said, and I'll never forget it, me and Stuart sat in the ward one day, and a nurse who I get on really, really well with in the nutrition team, like she's seen me, oh God, I'd hate to think how many times she's seen me. She was very brutal with me and honest, but that's how I like them to be. Like, don't hide anything from me. Tell me how it is so I can prepare myself. And she basically said, do you know how poorly you were at this point, Steph? And this was just as they'd put me on the TPN. She said, do you know how poorly you were? I was fine. Like, yeah, it's just what it is now. And she was like, no, like if we hadn't started this, I don't know how much longer you would have been here for. And me and Stuart just sat there, and I remember him squeezing my hand, and we just kind of were like, yeah, okay. And then she said, right, they're going to come and talk to you because you're going to have nurses come out to the house. And I was like, oh, great. Thinking about all this thing, let alone thinking about where I'm going to store all of this stuff. Yeah. Nurses will come out to your house, and I had to be trained on how to be able to provide myself then with my TPN at home.
So just through the PEG or through your arm?
Just through the arm.
Right.
So at this point, they were getting ready to discharge me home with a nursing company to come out to the house with the PICC line in place that they were then going to later on transfer to a different type of central line that would be easier for me to manage.
Okay.
So yeah, I was ready for discharge, and she had explained to me, like, at this point, I'd started to whittle down the hours that I was on the machines, because for the first 2 weeks I was on machines for 24 hours a day.
Feeding you?
Just
feeding
me. Yeah, just feeding me. And we started whittling it down. So then they start taking it down by 2 hours over a week. They take it down 2 hours until you get to 12. Because you can't feed any shorter than 12. You can feed right up to 24, but you can't feed any shorter than 12. So they were getting ready to discharge me at this point because we were at the 12 hours. My peg was in place. I'd had an infection in that. We treated it. We were getting to a point where things were starting to progress in the right direction. So yeah, we were getting there, and we got home. The nurses started coming out to the house, 1 a.m, 1 p.m, and yeah, that was it for a good couple of months. But the nurses knew I wasn't going to be somebody that was going to put up with this. Like, they knew that I wanted to get trained and I wanted to be on it. And because as lovely as they are, and they are great, and they still come to see me once a week, it just, and I'll never forget it. There was a doctor that tried to, before they put me on the TPN, there was a doctor that came to see me, and he said, going on TPN is a really big commitment. Are you ready to do this commitment? Like, it's a big thing. Like, there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of time to do with it. A lot of admin behind it. Like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you? And I was like, yeah. Like, if it's going to save me, then yeah. So they started coming out, and I didn't realise until I got home what it was going to be like.
It's already taking over your life, like physically. Yeah. For them to then come into your home, George's home, Stuart's home. I've seen the pictures. I've seen the pictures of the amount of boxes that get delivered for your medication.
Yeah. It's about 28 boxes every 3 to 4 weeks. And yeah, I always thought gastroparesis was quite a rare diagnosis. I didn't realise intestinal failure was. So the amount of people that are in my situation with chronic intestinal failure and at home on TPN is between 50 and 60 per million in the UK.
Oh, so what was the other one? 14
in every 100,000. And it's between 50 and 60 per million in the UK.
Okay.
And that number seems to be growing from obviously what like the nurses say to me and stuff, and that number does seem to be growing. But yeah, it takes over. And now I've got my Hickman line, so that's basically the same as the PIC, it's just on my chest. And it's
instead of your arm.
Yeah, it's a more permanent one. It will last for about 7 years unless it breaks down or something. But that's how I feed now. That's my food and that's my fluids. It's my vitamins, it's my minerals, it's my calories. It's everything I need to keep going. And I have 2 types of bags a week. So I have a lipid bag, and then I have
fats.
Yeah, that's my fats. And then I have an electrolyte bag, which is all my glucoses. Do
they feel different when feeding through either of them?
No, I can't. Like, I've got it on now, and I can't. It makes no difference to me. Like, I don't really
be able to tell.
Yeah, I don't tell any. Like, I can't tell the difference in it. But yeah, and you have to get up in the morning, make a sterile situation for yourself to clean yourself up, disconnect. You have to make a sterile place at home at night time to connect. Connection takes probably 45 minutes to an hour. And that's priming your bags, getting your bags ready.
But you've taught yourself all of this, with the support from the nurses? The
nurses all signed me off, and I got signed off. I came home in the start of October.
Last year?
Last year. I came home in the start of the October, and by the November, the end of the November, they had signed me off.
Well done, you. I'm not shocked or surprised.
It was just something that I really wanted to do. I really needed to do. Because I've got no other option else. Like, I've got no other alternative. The alternative is I die from malnutrition. That is the reality of this situation. Yeah. Without this machine keeping me going, like that nurse said, I don't know where I would be right now. But for me, this is it now. Like, this is life. Like, I get up every day, and I'm grateful. I am grateful for my illness to some extent, because I get to do school drop-off. I get to do school pick-up. Don't get me wrong, I don't do it every day, because some days I just physically cannot move. Like, my body is seizing, it's cracking, it's creaking, just because it's not getting everything it needs.
Right.
But I do go and do this, and I am determined to do it. and I will keep doing it. And my mum's my carer throughout the day while Stuart and George are at school. I get to spend time with my mum that is invaluable. Like I'm lucky for that aspect, because before that I was so career driven that I would have never have thought about that.
Yeah.
So there are aspects that I'm actually quite grateful for. And I'm grateful that the hospital, that one doctor, took the time to listen to me and say, yeah, this is something that we need to look at. And my consultant now, she'll say to me, Steph, you're so complex. Your case is so complex. It's so
It's not just
out there.
one, you've got two of them.
Yeah. And it's a case of that I'll go in and I'll talk to her and she'll just be like, oh, not now. Like, what else can go wrong?
Yeah, yeah.
And I am lucky with my postcode. So I shared something this week that there's, within the gastroparesis community, there's a big drive at the moment to try and get people to know what it is.
Right.
Because it's not known. And there's a big drive about postcode lottery and getting the care that you need and people to listen to you for where you live. So I'm so lucky that the hospital, like Coventry Hospital, have opened up a SIF unit. And
what's that mean?
So severe intestinal failure.
Okay.
Which I now go to for anything. Anything's wrong with me, I phone them. Not when I need to. Like, I do tend to put it off quite a lot, but I will phone them and just say, something's going wrong. Right, can you be here by lunchtime? Yes, I can. Right, and I'll go in, and they just get you sorted because the risks are so high.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, it is crazy, but it's life. And like I said, I am grateful for aspects of it. Don't get me wrong, there are days that I will sit and cry. Like last week, there was a night where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to fight this battle. I cannot do this. I'm in agony. Like, I'm 35 years old, and my husband is like pushing me to get me out of bed, and he's physically like this, helping me up. I've got an IV pole next to my bed. I've got a room that's dedicated to just me going in there to do all of my medications and set myself up to feed. It's just, if somebody had told me at the start of it, this is what the end result's going to be like, I wouldn't have believed them.
The journey in which you've been on, that's one of the main reasons why I wanted you to come onto the podcast, because as you say, like, it's not just one chronic illness, you've got two. You've then got the complications that you've had with both. The way in which this has took over your life. How long's it been since you've eaten food?
So it was January 24. That was the last time I had noodle bar. That was my last meal.
January 2024.
Yeah.
And that's the last time that you ate food. Like, let's simplify this down.
So the last time I physically ate a meal, sat at a table, physically ate a meal and digested it, was January 2024.
So that's over 2 years ago.
Yeah. We're coming up to 3 years.
So, and then you're sat here and you're like, I am grateful for some parts of it, because you know, what else? What other decision have we got? We can take the positives, or we can sort of drown in the negatives.
Yeah.
And you're sharing here, you do have bad days. And my God, I'm not surprised. You know, you are human, but you are a very strong lady. So you get to take gorgeous George to and from school, spend more time with your mum, you know, whereas before, because life is so busy, you know, you've put the brakes on.
Yeah.
And you can see the positives from that.
Yeah, and I think before I took so many things for granted. Like, just going out for like drinks with your mates, or it's somebody's birthday, or we're celebrating something. What do? You go out for a meal.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas now, we still go out for a meal. I'll just sit there and I'll still enjoy it. And I do. We'll go, I'll get the menu and I'll go, oh, I'd have.
Okay, so so there's humour that you're able to find somewhere in this situation.
I would sit there and I'll go, oh, I'd have, and I'd look at the menu and I'd be like, yeah, I'd have that. And then we'd be and Stuart will be like, what are you doing? Like, I make meals for George. I still cook at home.
Well, I wanted to bring this up. So obviously I've got you and all your family on social media. And I remember Stuart, it was a couple of months ago, Stuart posted that you made a roast dinner for him and George.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to make the roast dinner. And he was saying how incredible you are, that you're stood there cooking a long cooking time, roast dinner, isn't it? It's not quick.
Yeah.
And like the smells and the fact that you weren't even able to eat it.
Yeah.
And he was just saying how amazing you are.
Yeah, it's really important for me that George sees that I still have a good relationship with food even though I don't eat.
Okay.
It's really important for me for him to see that you can still have a positive relationship with food. So the boys will sit down, and it is mostly at the weekends, we will sit down at the table together and we will eat together. And I will sit, I've got a 6-year-old at the end of the day, like, he needs help chopping his food up. He needs, like, he comes home from school, he's hungry, he wants a snack. He wants his lunchbox making. Those sorts of things can't be put on hold because I can't eat. There's ways around it. Like, I sat at the dinner table at Christmas with my mum, my dad, Stuart and George. And Christmas dinner for me at my mum and dad's house is a big thing. Like, I love a Christmas dinner. My dad's Christmas dinner, yes. But I'd spoken to a few people in, like, the community and we'd had a conversation and they'd basically said, just chew it and spit it out.
Okay.
And there are times now where I will have something, chew it, get some taste, and then spit it out. And then I have to go and drain my stomach because I've got some of the taste into it. So I think I said it to you earlier on, like, me and George have our own little treat of Doritos. And we will sit and share some Doritos, and I will take all of the flavouring off them and then discard of that Dorito. And but for him, Mummy and him are still sharing a treat.
Yeah.
They're still doing something together. So, and it's really important. Like, I wouldn't want it any other way. We went to the Moto Fest the other week, and there was some food being cooked in the street, and it was, oh my God, it smelled amazing. And my mouth started salivating, and I was like, oh. And then my stomach started hurting, and I was like, yeah, okay, thank you for reminding me.
So your stomach was hurting because you were salivating from your mouth?
Yeah. And then
because it's got to go somewhere, hasn't it?
And I just went, oh, thank you for reminding me. And they went, oh, could you taste that food? I was like, yeah, I could taste it.
What about water?
Water, yeah. So I will still go out with my friends and still go out and have a drink, and we'll still do all of those sorts of things. Sipping is the best I'd probably get on a day-to-day basis throughout the day.
Right.
Like small sips of stuff. But I usually wear a drainage bag. So that's a bag then that's connected into my peg, the part that goes into my stomach. And then basically the liquid will drain out of there because it will sit there. So it will sit at the top of the peg and it will just come out. And it's basically like a catheter on my leg. And then I'll just go and drain that off when I'm ready. But that's how I get through like big events and still being able to go out and socialise and do those things.
The taste, say for if you wanted to have a drink of, I don't know, pop or something, like, do you still get the satisfaction of the taste and then it's just this sort of short-term relief?
Yeah. So I still get the satisfaction of having that drink and having that cold element and being able to have that, like, if I really fancy something, then yeah, it's just then getting rid of it and draining it because it will sit in my stomach. So like the gastric emptying study, after 4 hours, there was 48% still sat in my stomach. So it will sit in my stomach for a good amount of hours before it will even, it will come up and then it will just sit there. Yeah. So yeah.
Incredible. You are incredible. I went out to my followers on my Instagram and I said that you were coming on, and I shared how special you are to me, and I said she's eventually agreeing to come on to this podcast. So one of our listeners had a question for you, and it says, I suffer with chronic illness too. What made you decide to share your story online? Because I want to, but I'm too scared to do it.
So coming onto the podcast, you forced me.
I did. With help from your family.
But prior to that, I'd started an Instagram. So when I first started doing the research into gastroparesis and trying to find the answers for myself, I found a lot in that community. And it was just searching hashtags, searching like buzzwords like gastroparesis or slow transit colon. It was just searching those sorts of things. And I came across a few people on Instagram and TikTok. And I just started like seeing what they were doing. And then I started realising how rare it was. And for me, because I wasn't at work at this point, I didn't really have anything to focus on, didn't really have anything to do. I just started documenting everything. I had enough pictures on my phone to evidence what was going on anyway, so I just started posting things. And to start with, I kind of did it faceless.
I remember.
And I kind of hid a lot of stuff. And then I got to the point where I just thought, you know what, this is me. Like, get on with it. Like, just be the person that I am and just show everybody and share what's going on. So that's what I started doing. I started sharing my story on Instagram and just started posting rubbish. I look back at some of the earlier posts and I'm like, what? And like sharing videos of me like changing the tapes on my nose and crushing my medications and just doing those sorts of things. But for me, it was really important to kind of give that awareness, because for me, if I hadn't have seen those things before and done my research and seen the awareness, I wouldn't have had the bottle to say to a doctor, hang on a minute. Do you think it could be this? Because I
people
think
are too scared to do it, Steph.
Yeah. And I did. I was like, this person's got all of my symptoms and I've got all of theirs. Like, is there something that, and it empowered me to be able to do that. And I think that's what I got from it. And then I had a couple of people message me and be like, seeing your stories made me realise that I need to go and get help. And I was like, wow, this is, and I think it is the case that because it is rare, just sharing it is really important. And I did a post this week about, we all have our own truths. Chronic illness is like vast.
Yeah.
And it can have so many categories in it. But some of those categories are really, really rare. And some people don't know about all of these different things. If you think you're on your own, or you think nobody's listening to you, to find somebody that actually goes to you, I've been there.
Yeah, I know how you're feeling.
That really helped me. So it was kind of something I wanted to do, to kind of go, do you know what, it helped me. It might help somebody else.
Amazing. And how would people find that account? What would they search?
So on my Instagram, I am the No Guts or Glory Story, because I've got no guts and it's literally everything.
I love that. And I love you as well. Okay, another question is, does your son understand your illness and how do you explain it to him?
Okay, so the best way I can answer that is, my son took me into school when he was in reception with my nose tube in place, with my feeding pump. He stood up in front of his class and he said, this is my mummy and she has gastroparesis. Basically, if me and you went to McDonald's, we could have dinner and she couldn't.
I love that little boy so much.
I've never hid anything from him. Never hidden anything from him. When we had to make big decisions about surgery, we knew what the outcome was. So we already knew, like with the stoma surgery, it was going to happen. But I asked him, this is what they want to do. Do you think it's going to work? Do you think mummy should have this? And he was a part of everything. He came to appointments, he saw nurses, he actually asked my surgeon what the size of the knife was going to be when he was going to cut me open with. Like, he's been a part of everything. And for me, I couldn't hide my illness. So with some people, yeah, they can hide their illnesses. I couldn't hide mine because he was seeing me being sick multiple times a day. He was eating dinner and going, well, why has mummy not got a plate? He was seeing all of these things. He was living with it. And then when I got the nose tube, he was like, well, my mummy looks different to everybody else's now. Like, I can't hide it. I had to tell him. So we do. We make things a lot easier and smaller bite sizes for him to understand.
Yep.
But he does understand them, and he has knowledge of it in his own little world. He's angry at the situation. He is angry at the situation. But he deals with it really well. He's amazing. Like, for a 6-year-old, he copes with so much. Last week he amazed us. My blood sugars had dropped and I fainted and I became unconscious upstairs whilst trying to put my TPN on. And Stuart and George were downstairs and they hadn't heard me. George, bless him, came upstairs and found Mummy asleep on the floor. And bless him, he tried for a few minutes to get Mummy to wake up. And then he shouted for help. But he did it. And I hate the fact that he knows how to do it. I hate the fact that he's aware of the situation. But also, he's so beyond his years that he's just, I can't.
He is an old soul, isn't he?
Yeah, a massive old soul. Like, he's got an old head on those young shoulders. And I do get myself upset. Like, last week after that happened, I threw myself into so much because I was like, he shouldn't have to deal with this. He shouldn't have to cope with it. He didn't sign up for this. It's not fair. But he also has access to things. So his school are really good. They help a lot. They understand the situation. Like in reception, he got a few funny marks made at him about his mum looking differently. Do you want to come in? Yeah, okay. And he showed the class. He gave me water. All of his mates did a syringe of water. Like,
I love that.
And he's called people out in the middle of Sainsbury's for staring at my face. Like, I don't hide anything from him. And if you can, don't do it. Because for me, he's a part of my journey. He knows all of it. And people say to me, oh, he's such a great boy, Steph. Like, he's doing so well. But it's shaping him into a person. Like, he's so empathetic. He connects with people on a different level.
Oh, yeah.
And if somebody's struggling, he really sees that and he works on it. So, yeah, I don't hide it from him. I can't hide it. To some extent, if he asks to help me, the other week he said, oh, Mum, can I do your meds today? Okay, yeah, that's fine. But I never, ever, ever ask him to participate in any of my care.
Yeah.
I never ask him to do certain things. There are parts that he can't physically do, but I would never go out of my way to say, George, can you do this for me? Can you syringe this? Like, I just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But if he asks, can I do that, Mum? And it's safe for him to do it, then yeah, I let him do it.
Thank you. Special, special boy. One thing about George as well, one memory I have, I think I've told you this before, my dad and me were at the Remembrance Sunday. We go every year and we always see your family there as well. And we were at the Memorial Park and I saw George and like he wasn't near us. So it sort of like waved as we walked past, went and stood over there. And he came over to me with a programme. And he just gave it to me to say, here you go, if you haven't got one, Ellie. And I thought, I'm going to steal you. I'm going to take you and keep you forever. Special, special boy. Right, okay. And then one last thing. I have something to read for you.
Oh.
Okay? So this is from your mum and dad. And I'm going to try not to get emotional. Jesus. So it says, Stephanie Jade is beautiful and unique with a little bit of sass thrown in. She constantly surprises us even in her darkest days. Stephanie's ability to keep us all grounded is truly amazing, and if we could bottle her strength, we'd be millionaires. But most of all, we are proud to call her our daughter. Keep strong, Maud. Love, Mum and Dad. Jesus! So I just wanted that because I am so proud of you for coming on this today, but just in general. Like, we all love you so much, and your strength, you know, knock back. Right, okay, well, let's go again then. Here's an option. Yeah, let's go for it. Like, there's not many people that have that kind of courage.
You've got to. Like, I could be really, really morbid about the situation.
Yeah.
And I could be really sad about the situation that I am on a ticking time bomb. I could be. But whilst they're still pumping me with everything that they can, and I'm still able to get up, we both have the same same 24 hours.
Yeah.
We could both go to sleep tonight and not know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how I see it. Yes, okay, I've got stuff that takes away a few of them at the other end for me, but no different to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
We're all slowly getting to that end page at some point.
And I think that is something that you need to hold on to. Yeah. We don't know how long we've got. Whether we've got an illness, a chronic illness, a mental illness, whatever it is, we never know when our time is up. And I think that's something which I've definitely learned since losing Mom is, well, she didn't flipping care, did she? She lived every day to the fullest where she could, within her own ability. And keep taking George to school when you can and when you feel well enough to do so. Keep going to the bloody Jacobean that your family are there all the time, and keep living life, because what's the other option?
Exactly. And I'm not gonna let the other option win.
No.
I didn't sign up for these terms and conditions, but I've got them.
Yeah.
We have to work within it.
You're a superstar. Right, so links then. All Guts, No Glory.
Yeah, the All Guts, No Glory story.
All Guts, No Glory story. Anything else that, any other links or anything, we'll chat after this.
Yeah.
If you send them over to me, and I'll put them in the show notes. How are you feeling now?
I was all right once I got...
Yeah, you were. I told you, 5 minutes in, you'll be fine.
Yeah, you kind of forget your surroundings and it is just us chatting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Are you proud of yourself for doing it? You're a very modest person, so you bloody should be.
Yeah, if one person takes something away from it, then yeah, I'm proud for doing it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's hard. It is hard. But if you fight through it and you have a decent mental attitude about it, then you can do anything, can't you?
Puts things into perspective a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, I love you. I've loved speaking to you and having you on here. And I'm just so grateful. And I bet your family are grateful too. Yeah.
And I think I'm grateful for you giving me this opportunity. And I'm just, I hope that somebody somewhere takes something from it, because...
Well, as you say, the connections that you made through social media, we don't know who might hear this. They might have a family member that might, they might be struggling, not getting answers and stuff. So you'd be surprised. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we are done.